Welcome to Said Klocki Hour number 6. This episode is basically an entire it's a discussion with Maniac4Bricks. His information should be linked wherever you're watching this podcast with your ears, and I hope that you enjoy it. It's a completely different format from normal, but it's a lot of the same things that you've come to expect from Sad Klocki Hour, and I know that I found it interesting. All right, so welcome to Sad Klocki Hour. This is Maniac4Bricks, Mr. Bricks. If you want to introduce yourself and let anyone know anything they need to know about you before we jump into it's why Lego people hate Megabloks, not why necessarily it's bad. Yes,
exactly. That's the point I want to address for today is where does this divide between Megabloks and Lego come from in a fan way about it? So I'm Joey. I'm Maniac4Bricks. I've been doing YouTube for almost 10 years now, and I've explored all different kinds of things in Lego, but I mostly gravitate towards the obscure side or the very historical side of a lot of products, the brand as a whole, and all different kinds of themes in between. So I'm still learning information as I go, which is always a joy for me. But I'm always welcome to learn new stuff from other places too.
Yeah, that's the fun that Lego never ends. Well, as a fun one, so do you know the word Klocki? Have you heard this around?
No, I'm not familiar with the word.
So this is a real fun one because Klocki is. Now I'm gonna say Polish, and I'm gonna be wrong, but it's a Scandinavian word that means bricks. It's not necessarily Lego. It's wooden blocks or any brand of building interlocking blocks or this similar. So it's actually
very cool.
Really fun. It is a mostly Lego podcast. It's the podcast for people who don't have enough Lego, but it's got connotations of all this, and I'm obviously a Lego fan, but you've got to explore other brands to understand why Lego is the way it is and why people like Lego the way it does. So this is an interesting topic.
Yeah. Shall I begin, or you want to?
So real quick before we start on this actual topic, we've got a little bit of a tradition on the podcast here of kind of blindsiding people, but this is what dreams are made of. It's a segment inside of any guest spot where you tell me your dream Lego theme. Can be something that has already been a Lego theme that you want to come back, or it can be an original one. And then you give me 4 or 5 sets, a polybag, a $10, a $120, and a couple in the middle. So go ahead and real quick off the cuff, just tell me a theme that you want to see and a couple sets that you think would be really fun.
Well, this one has actually been sitting on my mind pretty much since I was a kid. And even though I had enjoyed a lot of stuff from this theme at the time and was well aware, yes, this is the final thing, they're not going to make more of them, I've always wanted an extension of the Adventurers line, Johnny Thunder,
right, yeah.
Dr. Kilroy, Sam Sinister, all that. I've wanted an extension of that took place in the Arctic, which I thought would be like a very nice change of pace, because a lot of times they do the jungle, they do the desert. They've only done Orient Expedition where it kind of had like a 3-in-1 feel, but some parts not as distributed as others, not as robust, I should say.
They had a little bit of Arctic or Himalayan, I guess it would be, stuff, yeah.
And in my opinion, the Himalayan aspect of that was the shortest of all 3 of those lines.
Oh, for sure.
For the number of sets that are available, the range of any of those sets. So that's why I thought, it'd be cool to see, no pun intended, it would be cool to see more of that with those kinds of characters and more to explore. Kind of like how City has done Arctic exploration for several different waves, but maybe more on top of that. Maybe something else that's buried beneath the ice. Or, even Lego themes back in the day had that. I want to say Town Arctic in the early 2000s.
Yeah, they had a
Spaceport
exploration thing.
Yeah, because not only did they have that, but they also had in tie-in with their own Spaceport line at the same time, and a little bit into Life on Mars that I've discovered over time. They kind of tell a story between all 3 of those, because you have Spaceport, there's meteorites that are falling to the Earth and have these weird astrological gemstones and otherworldly things. Not natural.
I'm gonna stop you for 1 second. Is this the stop motion in City where they summon like Cthulhu?
No, I have no idea what that is.
There's a stop motion of Arctic where they like crack open a rock and it's got a idol in it and it's a whole thing. Anyways,
okay,
that's like an official Lego thing. I'll link that to you if I ever see it again.
I'm curious about that now. I have not been aware of that.
It was a Max thing, I think, Club Max or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay, so much later then.
Anyways, back to yours.
So Spaceport, they had these meteorites. They're discovering different, otherworldly objects in them. Arctic, there were all these different, like, transparent neon scorpions, as they illustrated them. They called them, quote-unquote, fossils, but I think some materials, maybe in the Lego Mania magazines at the time or so, kind of simulated that, oh, these are from another world. These are extraterrestrial things. Even Lego Stunt Rally followed up with that, in which they showed underneath these sheets of ice is like little traces of UFO saucers, which was from the UFO space.
Now, was this also? They were doing the. I forget what it was. A Secret Agents theme. It was Ultra Agents or Agents. Didn't they have a glowing scorpions in the Arctic?
I believe no. So. No? Okay. I don't think either.
Thinking of what you're talking about.
There was an Arctic-themed agent set, but it did not have any glowing.
But I'm mixing the two up, probably.
It might have been Ultra Agents, if I'm recalling correctly. But yeah, they had that leaning into to the Arctic theme and Stunt Rally, like I said, the video game, but also in a way followed up with it through Life on Mars, because in Spaceport you had a character named BB. Which was illustrated in the comics or even some of the junior reads. I remember reading those as a kid. He basically was like a young, enthusiastic space explorer. He basically got part of the space program and became part of the actual sets of Life on Mars. But BB is one of the astronauts. So it was like this kind of redhead, tosses aside, almost pepperoni style hair.
But he grew up into the next series, is what you're saying?
Pretty much. I mean, that's it's fun of seeing it like evolve between those themes. Like they were all telling a story with the sets, but also with the video games, connecting pieces together. No pun intended. Again,
I think it would be interesting to see Arctic explorers, though, because explorers always had adventurers always had like a slightly mythical and like mystic. There was definitely magic about, because the skeletons came to life. There were the deities and then the mountains and stuff. So it would be interesting to see what they would do in the Arctic with potentially that background or all new background.
Yeah, exactly. So I could definitely see this in the way of like creating a wave of sets. Obviously, you would have some kind of Arctic treads, some kind of large tracking vehicles to carry cargo, maybe some kind of like base camp to set up tents and things, or some investigative lab. But in a similar way, you could also have the actual glaciers, some ice temple structures that would, get unearthed over time and maybe have its own thing going on. Maybe some kind of, again, if it's playing in the extraterrestrial side of it, maybe it's like, oh, now that they're thawed, they're their own thing. It's kind of like Shima, actually, because they had a whole bunch of like tribes frozen in ice,
and then they thawed and came back and had the whole battle thing.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that could be interesting. I definitely could see Adventures always did more locations, which would it would be very interesting to see what they do with that, because I wasn't super big into Chima, so I wasn't paying the hardest attention, but I remember most of those being vehicles, if I'm not mistaken.
A lot of vehicle-based stuff, but I believe almost every tribe in the first year had some form of base of operations.
But by the time they got to the Arctic, though, I know there was like the mammoth, and I guess the battle pack, the like bear battle pack thing had like a little camp that it was or whatever. But
that was interesting, because they basically made
locations. Yeah,
they made a couple tribes in that area for battle packs of sort, where you get like 3 or 4 figures, a little turret, a flag, some kind of banner, for the tribe. That was
some kind of stud shooter or something.
Yeah,
yeah. That would definitely be interesting to see what they would do with that. I don't think Adventures is coming back because they like to do more vehicles and mechs and stuff, so I don't think they see the possibilities there, but it would definitely be interesting if someone mocked up some Adventure Arctic stuff. So
I remember when the city jungle theme was, like, I think there was like a teaser or something in one of the instruction manuals before the sets had actually come out. I thought, this is our moment. We're getting adventurers back. Not really.
Yeah,
I mean, it has a lot of elements of it, but you didn't have any named characters, which I was hoping for, like more story built into it.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the Megabloks discussion. I believe you said you had some talking points, so go ahead and line those out, or just present it the way that you think is going to be the easiest to follow along in an audio format.
You got it. So, the thesis about this whole topic, I brought this up recently. I've always been curious about, Lego fans. We love all different kinds of products. We love the longevity of them, that you can use pieces old and new to combine with each other. A lot of different themes that are covered, a lot of different licenses over time. But people often forget that Lego was not it's the Rolls Royce of the building toys, but it's not the founder of it. Everybody praises it as if you look at any generic brick without the studs, you will call it a Lego block. Just, like the way you would call Kleenex tissues.
Yeah, maybe not the Lego fans wouldn't, but if you asked your regular person, you'd go to the dollar store and you buy a little pack of bricks and you hand it to someone and say, "What is this?" They're gonna say, Lego before they say Mega or Creo or anything else. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's permeated that much into pop culture that 100%. It's the brand that's most recognized, and everybody in some way turns a blind eye to the other brands. I mean, I've seen it for years in retail stores that Megabloks, Creo, K'NEX, a lot of other building toys that have just grown up in their own way, have been in the same aisle as Lego. And that's just how the markets work, that you find the building toys are all together here. But at the same time, there's also a disdain that people, especially with people who are very much into Lego and have been building for a long time, turn a blind eye to Megabloks anything. I mean, I've heard of people who literally, if they're sorting out a pile of bricks that they got used from a lot or whatever. And sure, like you said, some people they're going to call all of them Legos. They're not going to think about the brand, and they're all just going to be mixed together. If they're sorting them out, I've heard of people who actually throw them in the garbage, literally away, not even repurpose them or anything like that.
I will throw away most of the older Mega, they're Megabloks because now they're Mega, but the older stuff I get, even, and sometimes Tyco ones are in okay condition, but I find that the old ones just aren't very good. The new ones, I get one every once in a while in a lot or something, and they're fine, and I throw them in the bin with all my off-brand. But that's definitely a common sentiment, that just get rid of all of them, keep only the Lego.
So that's kind of the first point that I think of is why is it so ingrained for so long, people turn away from Megabloks. And I think that's one thing, is about the quality of them. I mean, I grew up with Megabloks as well as Lego, as well as a lot of other toys and a lot of building toys in general, in the late 90s into the 2000s. And I can honestly tell you, without nostalgia or anything, those blocks did not stack up. They did not fit quality that you would see in Lego. A lot of yellows, reds, a lot of bright colors were very faded in the pigment. The way, if you 100%. Hold them next to a Lego brick of the same size, you could tell which is which.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I was saying already, is that they're just lower quality. They just don't fit as nice. They don't feel as good. And yeah, they just it's the same thing as that. I personally, if I get a chewed up brick that's really chewed up, if it's scratched up or whatever, it's fine. But if it's really chewed up and I get some used pieces, I'm throwing it out. I don't care that it's Lego. There's a threshold of quality, and old Megabloks and so on doesn't meet that quality for me. Even for my, like I said, I've got a bin of off-brand that I keep, in the corner with no light, and I shame it constantly, but I keep it, and it's it's a part of the collection.
Right. But yeah, those are valid in some way, and I've actually done that with Lego bricks. If I find ones that have been broken over time or just an off pigment, some people actually do enjoy those and collect those. I can't bring myself to throw them out because I still feel like there's a purpose for them. So what I've done actually for a while, I have a fish tank that I've used for displaying like underwater Lego sets. I'll put them into a corner and make it a shipwreck. So it's like they're broken on purpose. Yeah. Like in universe, like, yeah, they would just tear apart from the rough sea and whatever. But going forward, the other thing that I had picked up over time as far as like the differences between Megabloks and Lego, aside from the quality differences, yes, Mega kind of merged with one or two brands, if I remember correctly, over time, and that's how we got Mega Constructs.
Not exactly sure on the thing, but yeah, I think that they dropped blocks because Megabloks was the joke, oh, your mom got you Megabloks, she doesn't love you, that whole thing. So I think going Mega was, hey, those who know it's still Megabloks know it's Megabloks, but those who don't think it's a Mega Pokemon or whatever,
right? Yeah,
Mega Halo.
It's possible. Yeah, I don't understand the change that they had for constructs for a couple of years, but I guess it's still trying to have that building aspect going on. But in that time when they had changed it over, trying to eliminate the Megabloks name of it, I've picked up some of them because they have licenses that Lego didn't, or
100%.
Carried
got
for
Pokemon,
some time. Yeah, absolutely. I love the Pokemon ones. I actually have picked up a whole bunch of them. They are actually,
I don't hate them. Yeah,
they're actually quality pieces. I'm not going to say they're better than Lego, but they're definitely better than what they used to be.
The pieces definitely seem to work 100%, and I think that unfortunately on the package, the molds and weird like arms and stuff that are kind of, they look much better on the package, and you get them in your hand and it's like, okay, this Pikachu's really awkward actually to pose and he's kind of fragile, but like at least the pieces go together. And I would say that, like, other than like really playing with them, which you're probably not, like, as an adult at least, moving individual legs and running them across the table type thing. So he's good enough, and if you were a kid, you probably aren't going to mind the little bit of awkwardness.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, I don't move them too much beyond a couple poses here and there. But I will say that they are sturdy, that they actually fit together.
Yeah, no,
I've definitely had Megabloks back in the day when we had things like Blockbots and Motorsports, where some of those bricks actually did not connect to each other, or they're very loose, as we would call in Lego, clutch power. So, the actual integrity of them.
I remember not Lego, sorry, Megabloks Dragons, right? A Dragons line. I remember seeing those in the store in like a display box, and they didn't like connect. And it's one of those things that, like, I mean, that's a quality thing, but I feel like Lego would just not have a display if they couldn't get it to work, kind of thing. So
yeah, that's true.
Definitely older Megabloks definitely didn't carry that seal, and I feel like they've definitely been trying to distance themselves from that.
Yeah, but in a couple of ways they do kind of wrap around, and especially when it comes to licenses. I know I mentioned Pokemon as something that Lego hasn't done, but as others have pointed out online and for many years, some licenses kind of jump back and forth between the two, and then every once in a while Playmobil gets a piece of the pie, but we're not going to discuss that.
I believe that Playmobil isn't a building toy, so it can have the license at the same time, but I know a lot of people disagree with that sentiment.
No, I mean, I tried to move into Playmobil as a kid, and I understood that these are always going to be the same thing. A race car is going to be a race car. It's just I guess the iconography of it makes it feel like it's the same as Lego, because the faces are simplistic.
The hands are claws,
pupilled. Yeah, exactly. So I can see how...
I mean, yeah, it's easy. It's an easy thing to confuse.
But what I also learned is this is probably another sentiment people have about Megabloks compared to Lego is the quote-unquote stealing of licenses. I mean, it's not in legal terms. It's just they're no longer in contract. Somebody else can be. But the fact that we've seen SpongeBob, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Minions jumping back and forth between them.
I think Five Below got the Nickelodeon license now with whatever block brand they have. So yeah, no, I don't feel like they were stolen. They obviously paid more money or had better terms. Like, yeah, that's if anything, that's Lego's fault for losing it. You know, it's not the other brand for getting it.
Exactly, but it's also fun to see that some of them not only started with Lego and then went to Megabloks. It's not. I've even seen some of them that started Megabloks and then went to Lego, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back in I think 2004, 2003. Those are actually kind of cool. I had one of them that I got as a gift, and you had maybe 2 turtles, foot soldier, buildable set. It had stickers over assembly, but again, this is 2004. Lego would have done that just as much. And then almost every one of the sets had like this slime goo thing in a canister.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah,
everything. And I
remember seeing that in advertisements.
Yeah, exactly. The figures. I know that's another thing that I've noticed with Megabloks. They really don't have a specific figure. I mean, maybe some for generic themes, but they're willing to bend it for licenses almost all the time. I mean, Megabloks Halo, they're really like decorated. They're very textured.
I would say
every
maybe
single kind of character.
I'd say maybe the Spartan is like a basic kind of figure where it can be changed out. But again, that's you're right. It's only for Halo, obviously. But like I believe a lot of those pieces are swappable and stuff. So it is interesting to see how they do a lot more molding and stuff, and even washes and things like like grime and dirt in the creases. Yeah, like you don't get that kind of. I mean, you might get like a dirt pattern, but it's not it's not as realistic, which is fine for Lego. But I can see the appeal of this scale replica of Master Chief type thing.
Yeah, that's true. But with the Turtles, they did something like that where it's like they'll make a body to accommodate the shape of the figure to make them. I think the 2004 ones actually were a lot more Lego-like than they were later on with like the Michael Bay film adaptations and the Nickelodeon adaptations. But I honestly see that as like an evolution, kind of a plus for them that they're not completely copying the shape of an articulated figure is like. They don't have the same joints. Most of them are ball joints as opposed to just being swiveling hinges and things.
Which is, I think that adds a lot of bulk to their figures. Like if you kind of look at a lot of their figures, they feel bigger. They're not that much bigger than a Lego man,
Yeah, true.
But because of the ball joints, they can't bend certain angles quite as hard. Which again, Lego's not known for their articulation, really. But I definitely feel like that adds a lot of posability and stuff, but maybe a little more bulk to it because they're willing to make sure that they can get that ball joint in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, I'm jumping in here to do the ad break read section. So if there's an ad after this, then we did it. If not, oops. And welcome back. Let's jump right back in there. Thanks for listening to the ad. If there was one, if not, oops.
I mean, I was definitely listening, but
that's fine.
One thing that didn't really evolve from, despite those changes in minifigures, they're mini dolls. When they had Barbie for some time because it's Mattel.
Yes,
of course they're going to have Barbie available.
They had Monster High, right?
Yeah, they had Monster High for a little while. And those figures, I'd say, I if you put them next to mini dolls, you really give the mini dolls some slack because they are even less posable, more stiff,
more uncanny.
In all
I'd say,
ways.
yeah.
Uncanny, yeah.
They're a little too realistic without being cartoony.
Exactly. They're all, like really strangely small for what you think of, but they still look like a Barbie doll or something. And yet they don't I mean, Barbie dolls aren't known for posability either. Like, the life size or whatever.
I think, and
Ones
this is a fringe topic that I have really no expertise on. So if someone wants to comment or reach out to us at the show here and let me know if I'm completely wrong, but I think Barbies in the last 4 or 5 years have been getting more and more joints to make them more posable, because there's a bigger focus on action themes and things that would require just a little bit more posing than
more
pointing your arm out like straight out for a hail.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, to be fair, I haven't looked at a Barbie doll or even the Mega Barbies since maybe 2013 or so. That's when I can recall them being mixed in with other Lego pieces and such. But I do remember those where you can't move the legs at all independently. It's just one little base or something that they stand on. The arms are very thin, very flimsy. I'm always afraid that if I kept moving them, I would break them. Now,
I believe they're kind of a similar deal to the classic Star Wars figures, those Kenner type plastic rubber.
Yeah, kind of.
So
like
I think they've got a good bit of durability to them, but I can't tell you the last time I quote unquote played with a Barbie, but from my recollection, it was they felt like they were sturdy enough, and I don't remember my sister or any of my cousins having armless Barbies, so they had to be at least childproof. Obviously, you wouldn't be given to children if not. So I think it's a little bit misleading, that kind of feel they have. But yeah, I could definitely see what you're talking about. Whereas they definitely feel a little bit squishy and kind of like they're going to just pop off or break.
Right. It's just like a thinner area to work from than a typical Lego figure. But yeah, going back from what I said about licenses, they had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before Lego did. Lego had it pretty much for the first Michael Bay film and some of the Nickelodeon show. And then the second movie onward, they basically went back to Mega Constructs for whatever reason. But then kind of excelled from that. I would say, in some ways, more than Lego. Because not only did you have that TV show to work from, and I think the figures, I mean, I'm somebody who follows Turtles for, many years and many iterations. So I pay attention to that. They were just neutral enough that it didn't look too much like the 2012 show, but anyone who looked at it could say that's Michelangelo, that's Leonardo. Didn't
it helps
look
that they're color coded a little bit, but yes, they definitely. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Where they weren't super stylized, but they were still different, distinct. Yes.
Yeah, but then Mega Constructs, they not only went, they not only went back to those, to that license, but also kind of broaden it. They actually did include legacy sort of sets that are black and white of all the turtles. They all had red masks in the comics. They didn't have, color coding of who's who, and they made figures based on that. They made figures that were just based on, previous TV shows or, even the Nickelodeon show or anything like that. So it's like you almost have, if you're a Turtles fan, you had a lot more to work with in Mega Constructs than you did with Lego. But if you're a difference of what kind of sets you also had with them. Some of them were just, I have a stand with a comic book frame in the background, or you go to the complete other end and you have a Technodrome that's over $100, almost $150 as a huge, almost like a Death Ball on wheels or a Death Star.
Definitely if you're a Turtle fan, you're gonna find more value probably outside the Lego theme for these. I definitely, back in the day, I had the action figures and stuff for the Turtles, and of course watched the animated show in the 90s. But yeah, you're probably going to enjoy I definitely could see the appeal of the variety of stuff there. Not necessarily Lego's kind of their reliance on this is the current thing that we have to base everything on,
Right.
Which I think, that's definitely, it's a good thing. Like I said, for a Turtle fan, it's a whatever thing for a Lego fan. If you just want the bricks, you don't care exactly how the bricks come, huh?
That's true. And I mean, it's kind of funny to me that there are some licenses Lego will look at and they'll go with the contemporary version of it. This is what's out now. This is what's being produced as media, whatever contract or whatever associates with that. And then you have Warner Brothers, where they released Scooby-Doo, and everybody was wondering up the wazoo, what's it going to look like? Because Scooby-Doo has went through probably the most versions I've seen of any media property next to Batman and Spider-Man. Like all the forgot the TV shows, movies, live action, animated, you name it. So nobody had any idea what they were going to look like, and they played it safe. They stuck with like original Where Are You Scooby-Doo. They had the characters in masks underneath the costumes. Mostly classic environments, maybe a little bit more touched up just for the Scooby-Doo-ness, because you have like that Mystery Machine color, you know, bleeding into other vehicles. But, you know. That was
definitely like the Scooby-Doo movies kind of rendition where everything was a Mystery Machine, but also fairly not bland, generic maybe locations. Yeah. They did them fine, but they were just Where if you asked a random person on the street, where would Scooby-Doo be? Lighthouse, obviously, you know.
Yeah. But I also get that for like Scooby-Doo toys from any company would be like that. They would have that kind of color splash across vehicles and things. But it's just funny to me that at the time, Where Are You Scooby-Doo, or Scooby-Doo Where Are You, I should say, wasn't really the hot topic, if I may. The thing that people's minds as to
if you were going to the store to buy a Scooby-Doo video or something, you weren't buying that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's a fair thing. I don't really know what the like Lego take on that is so much. Like if they were just playing it safe or something. But I definitely again, if you were a big Scooby-Doo fan, you're probably tired of getting, you know, the same 5 locations from every company ever, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
So I definitely think you're right about that.
It's kind of like what we've had recently with the Lego Ideas Sonic the Hedgehog set. If you come up to a Sonic fan or myself, and you say, "Hey, look, we got Green Hill Zone as a Lego set." We've seen more Green Hill Zone than we've seen anything else in like that is something that Sega itself will produce so often in their games to say, look, this was good. People like this, right? Yeah. But it was really like the first scene, the first level in the first game, and it's cool for what it is, but we also like seeing new stuff out of it. That's why the Ideas Project was, you know, is highly voted, because it was based on not the original Sonic, not any of the original video games, but rather kind of a revised, almost remaster of it in Sonic Mania. And Lego said, yeah, but will people want that? Or will as many people want to? They're probably looking at a larger perspective on it and said, everybody's going to know what Green Hill Zone is more than they're going to know this mech, which is fine for its own merit. I still like it. And I hope that it becomes a bigger thing later. But... And the Sonic set is still fun for what it is too. I built it. I still like what's in there. There's a couple cheeky Easter eggs that I really enjoy. But I do want to see something more than that. I guess if you're going to make a quintessential Sonic set,
I mean, they're looking at it like, here's one Sonic set. And again, me never like playing, like I played Sonic games, but I never like beat Sonic games. Is that
me too.
I don't know if I could tell you another zone name. Like I know that there's like Metal Zone and like Toxic Zone and stuff, but like I don't know if I could tell you the you know, like obviously it's the Grass Zone, but it's Green Hills. Everyone knows that those 2 words, which you know, I think you're right in saying that that they're not scared to leave the box, because they do sometimes, but you know, video or something. But like, yeah, when they're handling stuff, they're, you know, the friend's apartment. You know, it's not some random scene. You know, that doesn't take place in the iconic location.
It's the kind of thing where they know that the appeal is more about the pop culture phenomenon of it, rather than like they're more interested, in my opinion, in bringing in new people that know something and you can build it, as opposed to existing Lego fans of something else you can build out of it. You know what I mean?
I think
that's why every time you saw any kind of sitcom as a Lego set, there were more media outlets that covered it outside of Lego than there were in, or sooner, or even video game outlets. What we saw in that Horizon set recently.
Yes, the Horizon Zero Dawn East West or something Horizon,
like that. Yeah,
West, yeah. I mean, that's a very valid point, and I think the A Fool podcast. I don't know if you watched that one with Brick Trains, Mardi Gras Man, and Brick Czar.
I know the podcast. I haven't watched every episode yet.
That's fair. I'm very far behind too. But one of the more recent ones, they were saying they're more interested. Lego is more interested in getting and selling a set to one person than selling one person their 100th set, or selling one set to 100 people than selling the 100th set to the something like that. And I
see what you mean. Yeah,
they don't care about the Lego fans for a lot of these things because they know the Lego fans are going to keep buying Lego. They want to get that one set. I mean, in their recent marketing, when you see like the art sets for the Batman and stuff, that's the only Lego set that man owns. You know, in the promotional images,
right?
He's in his loft. He's got one Lego set, and that's kind of the playing it safe, I guess, or the at least the takeaway for me is that you're very right, is that you build this thing that everyone knows, not necessarily the fans. Where I think you're kind of getting at the Megabloks is kind of willing to say, Halo fans, we've done this exact one variant of this Spartan suit that you love.
We yeah, you don't want to ask them how many warthogs that they've made.
Oh, I mean, that's too,
I'm not a Halo fan, and I'm losing count of them.
And I just saw,
but I mean, it's a thing. I'm not just dogging on Lego specifically. Oh, they're just gatewaying everybody into their brand because of this license. Every merchandise
every brand
this.
Loves that.
But it's something that I had noticed that Lego harps on a lot more often than Megabloks does, or at least it seems to me, in my opinion, because when Megabloks does it, they're not going to go for Lord of the Rings. They're not going for a specific thing. They will make the dragon's theme, with a castle, with some light up eyes, with some magnetic gems you can attach onto the dragon or onto the castle itself. Very decorated orcs and all these different tribes with the actual fabric and not even fabric. I dare to say the word furs and hairs or something like little tufts. I mean,
soft material at the very least. Yeah.
Right, as opposed to like a plastic or a rubberized material. I mean,
Lego's only use of that is strings and sails, I guess, and capes, obviously. But you just don't get other materials. It's all plastic.
That's true, but I also do see Megabloks also dips into Hot Wheels. I think that's one of the more recent licenses that I've seen them acquire because again, it's through Mattel, who already owns Hot Wheels, so therefore, just shuffle the papers over to the next desk. And in some ways, that's kind of cool. I do think that there's something for that. It actually reminds me a lot of Lego Racers, where they did the tiny turbos. So you have a small buildable car that you can race around on your own track. Not exactly to the same scale, but still a similar feel to it. But even more so, Megabloks has even taken it into Hot Wheels, where they'll say, oh, you can either build this hot rod as a almost D2C, well, not D2C, it's been in Target, but as it's almost collector style,
an
enthusiast scale model. Or for the kids who enjoy Hot Wheels already, you could use the blocks to build loops, to build obstacles on the tracks. They have parts that are compatible with each of them. So it's almost like a synergy collaboration with that, because they're working with the same brand or the same corporation of people.
I mean, not to go too far out into left field here, but Lego saw the value in Hot Wheels-esque, die-cast cars back in the what was that, the 60s and the early 70s. They were making die-cast cars. So they themselves know that that's a good market. And I mean, and again, they would never, I don't think, in 2022 and beyond, go into, and obviously not necessarily diecast, but Megabloks is definitely, or Mega Constructs, or Mega, whatever they are currently, is definitely not afraid to be like, hey, we're going to do, scale cars, and,
right, yeah.
And that's I mean, you got to give up, there's points there to be had, right?
Yeah. I do agree with that. And even back then, Lego still had the permission of other like well-known car brands, like Volkswagen, in order to make the scale cars work with that and making little garages. So yeah, because Hot Wheels has been around for forever, probably almost as long as Lego, if I recall correctly.
I guess I could open up the internet. Let's do this real quick live.
Worth a Google.
Hot Wheels, and we'll type in Wikipedia, and let's see what comes up. All right, Hot Wheels, 1968. So yeah,
all right, yeah, pretty wild
years ago. Yeah, I'd say so. Where you got
well, that's yeah.
What's his name? Matchbox. What does Matchbox got? 53. So yeah. I mean they're old toy brands, but they're only just as old or not,
Okay, so Matchbox came out before Hot Wheels, and yet...
That's what I'm getting at, yeah.
Huh, yeah, actually, that... Okay, so today I learned that. I know that Matchbox is still a prominent die-cast car thing, and I will work this back around to Lego Megabloks, believe me.
That's fine.
But I want to take a sidebar here. And yet... If you look at one on the floor, you're going to say it's a Hot Wheels car. Like,
100%.
Kind of in the same way that we had established before that a Lego brick, to anybody, you look at a brick on the floor, you're going to call it a Lego, even if you don't look at it closely and say, oh, it's actually Creo or whatever. But even, I just find it kind of fascinating that, again, Lego was not the one to develop the building brand or even the block itself, with Kitty Craft and a couple other companies prior to that, and they're just like, oh, let's try that out. But the fact that now Lego's almost on the opposite end of it, and Mega Constructs and Mega Blocks and things are
the copycats.
I don't want to say second banana or copycats or anything, but yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people, I would say, have a perception of them being the Lego being the good guy, and these other people, like you said, stealing licenses and copying their pieces and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that way it's like a historical thing where it's like not the vicar go to spoils, but like Lego's already been around a long time. People have known it for generations, and then these other brands just come along because I mean, there was a time when Lego had the patent and basically for some time controlled it, but it wasn't like every single piece. There was still going to be some leeway in between, or you could still build other stuff. See also Jang Bricks' before Lego video, and even a few of them carried afterwards.
I mean, yeah, that's like Tyco was the big example always. Like growing up as Tyco's like aggressively in the 90s. Advertising like we're the same as Lego, and then Lego sued them. So like,
yeah,
you don't. Yeah.
There's also Tente. I actually remember that. I think they're still on YouTube. Some of the commercials, I believe, for Tente, where they show what two models would look like built with Lego bricks and Tente. And it showed, you got all these square polygonal angles with Lego, and then you have a more refined was with Tente, So, I mean, 90s rough advertising anyways of 100%. Saying this or that. But
I mean, everyone does that. Or not everyone, but a lot of brands do that, which only reinforces the fact that that's the real one.
Right, exactly. So a lot of it, I'd say there's probably a lot of it that's like a generational thing. I grew up with Lego, and my kids are growing up with Lego, and what the hell is this? Looking at the other things in the toy aisle. Connects, I feel like could have been one of those where it could have stood at its own merit while still being a building brand. But at some point they said, we got to do bricks.
Yeah, they did.
And they kind of did.
I mean, in the early
I've
2000s,
built them.
I think everyone was like, let's get in on this bricks. And I guess that's the kind of the main thing that makes people not like other brands is that they like Lego. And obviously there's people that like other brands, but the primary audience here likes Lego, and they see these again kind of as the bad guy coming in, like Lego was at their lowest in the early 2000s type thing, and all these other brands, Connects and Mega and Tyco and everything, were trying to make their own plays at the building block automatic binding brick type market. So I think you're onto something there. That could definitely be where a lot of people, not necessarily hate comes from, but their mistrust, or their at least like disliking of the other brands.
Yeah, I think so. But I will say that in some ways people might not only treat it as copying the style of the toy, of just building them, but even down to the bricks themselves. I'm looking at ones literally sitting right next to my table here from a brand, I'm not even sure how to pronounce this, which is something that I happen to find in Five Belows or Targets or whatever. So the regular brand of it is called Block Tech, but there's like some kind of parent brand to it. I couldn't. Well,
yeah, Block Tech is a prominent, cheaper brand. You've also got like Make It Blocks, and then into like the more designer stuff like Nano Blocks and stuff.
Yeah. But I'm looking at the pieces right next to me, and they look like they have the same kind of shape as a Lego brick does. It's more than just the plates, the bricks, the tiles, even down to like the modified pieces, the clips.
Like the angle pieces and stuff.
Yeah, everything that's at an angle and such, and yet you can feel the quality difference between them. You can, like I said, or like you said, it's cheaper in most senses of the word.
And these are modern? These are like current?
Like, yeah, I picked up these, I want to say a year or two ago, like from Target, because Target will do that sometimes. They'll have a couple of these kinds of brands sitting in like the seasonal aisle. So like for a holiday, you could pick these up, cheaper than the name brand. Or I don't even know if they're still doing it right now with Easter, but I remember seeing these around like Halloween and Christmas and things like that.
I mean, yeah,
like the front aisle of the store or something.
That Bullseye's Playground. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. You go to Bullseye's Playground, and they've got like.
That's actually the name of it?
Yeah, because they decorate it with the dog Bullseye a lot.
Yeah, that's
true. He's like hanging from the roof, or there's like a little sculpture of him in the middle.
Oh, it's like popping out of a box. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's it. And yeah, there's a. I don't know. It's not necessarily knockoff, but I assume it's the price point is what they're aiming for these toys. Yeah. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of times, like I was gonna say Among Us figures, but not necessarily Among Us. But yeah, like knockoff ninjas and stuff. And here's a pack of policemen for $1 or something, Right. And you get a lot of those kind of things coming in there. And unfortunately, that's probably what hurts Mega the most, is that those really crummy brands are kind of given the spotlight, whereas again Mega is probably a little too expensive to be in like the dollar section, but also Lego is in the Lego aisle, so you kind of, if you're going to buy an off brand, you're going to end up with this cheap one that's no good, and then that just makes you want, I want to go get real Lego. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would agree that Mega Constructs at this point, or Megabloks, have become to that point almost on the tier of Lego when it comes to the intricacy of their products, or even the quality of the bricks. They are sitting back behind the electronics section in a Target, same as Lego is. But still kind of carry that stigma. It's you don't even identify, like, people kind of like the way they'll group all Lego bricks together, but like Lego fans specifically will kind of group everything as Megabloks. They'll say that everything that isn't Lego is this knockoff, cheaper stuff, and there are cheap ones, but
no, 100%. I mean, I got 100 bricks at the dollar store for $1.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's a penny. That's a penny a piece. That's if you could sell Lego at that price, you'd be a millionaire.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, there's definitely that kind of stigma. That's personally, again, coming back to the sad Klocki hours, that I like to refer to them all as Klocki, a little bit more of a uniform term, and I don't almost ever refer to Lego as that. But you know, it's not that it's a knockoff. It's Klocki. It's its own thing. You know.
Right. Yeah, because you're not trying to emulate exactly what something else has. You're trying to still do your own thing with it, which
a lot of them are.
highly
Yeah.
respect.
I know a lot of them are trying to be Lego. And I know that there's a lot of money there, but yeah, there's a lot of brands out there. I mentioned the Microblocks.
Nanoblocks.
Nanoblocks, that's it. Yes, thank you. They've got Pokemon, and they've got some other licenses from Japan and stuff. But they only have one size brick. They don't, or rectangles and stuff. They don't do fancy wedges and rocket engines and stuff. It's a more artisan experience, maybe even more holistic than Lego currently, where it's here's your rectangles, build the world.
I mean, for case in point of this, not only could you find things like nanoblocks the same way as you could find them, as the same way as you could find Lego inside of like a Barnes and Noble, but they're kind of adjusted towards the puzzle aspect of it, where it's you're building this instructional thing that will all kind of look the same, but create something more artesian and
definitely it's definitely a display piece.
Most Lego stuff has.
Yeah. Most Lego stuff, I'd say 90% of Lego things, obviously like the ultimate collector's display stuff, but it's meant to be played with. It's at some level it's a play toy, whereas you definitely have, like, you're right, you're finding it closer to the puzzles in your Barnes and Noble, whereas you can rebuild a puzzle as many times as you want, but I'd say a good majority of people build it once and either shellac it and put it on the wall, or they take it apart and never rebuild it. That's there's a market there, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But
I mean, case in point, if Lego was going very hard into the collector displayable aspect of it, why would you have a moving train in the Home Alone set? They didn't have to put the gears or anything to make movement in there, but they know people will want to do something else when it's fully completed. Yeah,
the adults are still going to want to spin that train. And hey, have you seen this? I spent all weekend building it. Well, look, Michael Jordan's here.
Exactly. Or even the question mark block, where it's like you could have this as a shelf item on its own. I have a Luigi hat sitting on top of my TV, but now with the question mark block, I could give it its own grief as a Mario fan, but I digress. It is what's the word? It's a talking piece. You bring that into the room, somebody will be like, "Oh, what's that?" And you're like, "Well, check this out," and you open it up to all these different worlds inside.
It's definitely it's got a conversation to it, and it's kind of the same thing when you go over to someone's house and they've just finished working on like a big woodworking project, or that boat that I've been working on for 10 years trying to get fixed up type thing. It's got an endpoint that's more than just a display piece. There's something A, to talk about, you're right, and then B, to show off. So yeah, it's got that aspect to it for a lot of it.
One thing I've always found fascinating from just the generic consumer side of it, aside from us who know Lego very well, and Lego and Duplo. Duplo is just bigger Lego. You have a preschool aspect to it. They actually do combine with each other. They've even advertised it through the 70s and 80s as like you can grow up with the Duplo because you can connect these pieces together.
I think they have a current ad campaign with that too, but yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah, here and there. But Megabloks, while they do have a preschool aspect, not really made to be compatible. They're kind of in its own system entirely of how the bricks connect, of what shapes there are that don't mingle as you grow older. Which I don't know if that's any better.
I mean, I could see people being upset with that, as like, hey, I've just bought hundreds of bricks for my little baby or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're growing up, and I've got them some new Megabloks, and the new Megabloks don't work. Whereas if you if you've done the same thing with Lego, you've got nothing to be upset about. Yeah, they're not playing with the Miles from Tomorrowland Duplo Man, but they can still put some of those into their current builds and make a big tower twice as fast type thing. Yeah, there's definitely something there, and I don't know if that's the root of the anger, but that's an interesting thought.
I'm sure that's something that, because Megabloks have made this preschool aspect for decades now, that I could see that as a potential counterpoint as opposed to Lego for some people, but maybe not as much, like you said.
I don't know if a lot of people have thought of that. I think that's a very like I said, it's a valid point to bring up, but it's something that you would only be upset about if it happened to you, maybe,
Yeah, true.
Where it's not like, I hate Megablock for this reason or that. It's
right. That's true.
Little bit of the thinking man's Megablock hate.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at every angle that I can think of. That's
fair. We are basically out of time for the entire hour, but I have to put an ad read in the middle. But that was a lot of fun. That was like I said, I thought we were gonna get 10-20 minutes out of this, and we have enough for. I mean, I guess it looks like we have enough for another episode. So maybe in the future we'll bring you back, or I mean, maybe you'll find another.
Well, dang, I didn't even
get to get on that on. You got one more point. You got like 2 minutes.
All right.
Speed round, go.
I'll summarize it in like a few words.
Okay.
Lego City Stunts is Megabloks Extreme Sports. Like the same thing that Megabloks did almost a decade or so ago, Lego did recently. It's almost like backwards. Because they said, oh, extreme sports. Oh, you could do these stunts. Well, here's some big ramp pieces.
That would be interesting to see the average Lego fans' reaction to that kind of information, because I don't remember them having a line of stunt Megablocks. So yeah, that'd be real interesting to find out if people know that that's not as a stolen theme, but yeah, it's a roundabout circle in that way.
It's a very similar concept is what I'm just getting to, with a lot of, like, again, those large ramp pieces that I guess you could still build your own. But for convenience of the set, I believe it's
it's more fun to just drop a ramp, spin up a motorcycle and shoot off. No, for sure.
Yeah, that's just one more thing I wanted to throw in there, because I had thought about that when Lego Stunts arrived. I was like, I think I've seen these before.
I mean, that's
in the opposite way.
Like I said, I don't know of that, but like I wouldn't be surprised. But we are basically out of time. Maniac4Bricks, you're on Twitter. Is that a good plug, or do you want? You got anything you want? I mean, to know where to find you.
I talk about a lot of stuff through Twitter, Lego, video games, pop culture in general. So if you're into more than just that, I'm very social on there. I talk with more people one-to-one. Maniac4Bricks. I got a YouTube channel. I've dived into Megabloks a couple times on there, and if I can get my old ones rebuilt, I would love to talk about Blockbots. Basically, the the Exoforce before Exoforce. But I've also covered a bunch of other knockoff brands every so often. And when I say knockoff, I don't mean prolific like Megabloks. I mean on that lower grade we were talking about before, like the seasonal stuff from Target or whatever.
Those the no name brands, the actual knockoffs. That's very fun though. If you've got more to throw to this discussion about why Lego fans don't seem to like Megabloks, I encourage you to reach out to Maniac4Bricks on Twitter. And I think that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Didn't realize we were going to run the whole episode with this, but it was fun. So leave a comment, leave a rating. Yeah. We're on, of course, Google Podcast and Anchor and Spotify, I think, as well as YouTube. So if you're not watching it on YouTube, listening on YouTube, consider supporting us on one of the other ones. Thank you very much to Mr. Bricks for being here. And that's this episode. I don't really have an exit for these, but goodbye.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.